Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Champions Podcast. You have just me solo today. I'm interviewing one of my good friends and chronic illness warrior and patient advocate, and we're so glad to have her on the podcast. Don't Champ is okay. Don't worry. He is at Salkehatchie Mission this week, and he will be back this Sunday. His birthday is also this week, so don't forget to say happy birthday to him in any of our videos or social media. But he will show up, I'm sure, to put his comments in on my friend Katie's story. But we're going to get rolling with this. Katie, welcome to the podcast and tell everybody about you.
Hi, my name is Katie Haynes. I'm from Youngsville, North Carolina. I'm 26 years old, and I have a bunch of chronic illnesses, gastroparesis, CRPS, mast cell activation syndrome, dysautonomia, just to name a few. And I run a nonprofit called Smiling While Sending Hope that helps people with special needs and chronic illnesses. And I
So,
love outdoor activities like adaptive surfing, hunting, and traveling.
So, about your chronic illnesses, is that something that you were diagnosed with very early on in life, or was that kind of later in life?
So my first diagnosis at 14 was Asperger's. And then when I was 17, 18, I got diagnosed with my first chronic illness. But I think I've had them for longer than that. It just takes a long time to get diagnosed with rare diseases. And then I feel like I've got new diagnosis almost every year.
So, going through all of this obviously is a big burden sometimes, and
Mhm.
you have to keep a positive mindset. What has it been like? Because obviously, your challenges may be different from what society deems as normal. What has it been like for you to have to kind of go through those challenges? What kind of gets you through that? Because obviously, I know about you, and you're a Christian.
Mhm.
What kind of motivates you in those very difficult moments, like whether it's the hospital stays or just at home when it's just a really rough day? What motivates you through that?
I think my nonprofit and being able to meet so many amazing people, not only in our state, but I've also had the opportunity to travel and done a little bit of work with advocating in Washington, D.C. So being able to do those kinds of activities and then run my nonprofit helps me in my own journey.
Yeah, and it's amazing that you even do the nonprofit. I mean, to say it, I know it's a lot of work,
Yes, it
but
is.
it's got to be so rewarding
It
to
is,
be
yes.
able to see, explain what all you exactly do, because you post all the time about whether it's giving a package or doing something. What is it kind of that all encompasses Smiling Hope?
So, Smiling While Sending Hope is a nonprofit that helps everybody with every chronic illness and special needs. We don't have a specific diagnosis that we work with. However, I try and target the rare disease community because often there's not a lot of resources for that community. But we do private events, anything from taking people to our state fair. We took 150 people last year to the state fair. And then we do craft nights, game nights. We did a dance pop-up event and so forth. And then we do care packages for 0 to 26. And then I advocate for people in Washington, D.C. and in Raleigh. And then we created a coloring book that features people with disabilities in honor of one of my friends that passed away from cystic fibrosis. And then what else do we do? Toy drops and everything else in between. I feel like I'm always busy. Conferences. We
Yes.
do a lot of conferences. I'm competing for the first time next week in a talent show for people with disabilities. I'm not a dancer, and a lot of these girls have it's called the Rolettes Dance Experience in Los Angeles, and a lot of these girls have a lot of dance experience, but I'm in it more to spread awareness about my nonprofit and why I do what I do because I'm gonna have a PowerPoint plan, and then I'm dancing to the song "If I Got Jesus."
That's
And
awesome.
California is not a very religious state. And so it's going to be a different experience for everybody in the room, that's for sure.
But that's so awesome though,
Yeah,
and that you can participate, spread
yeah,
awareness, and kind of give them a little bit of Jesus at the
yeah,
same time.
right.
You know, this girl, I just want everybody to know she does stay busy because every time I turn around, like you're going somewhere else, like nothing keeps you down. You're
No,
constantly on the go.
hmm.
What has been, because I know that obviously you've gone to DC and you've done, what was it like, kind of that feeling of being able to go and kind of be that voice? Because it's so important to have a voice when we deal with what we deal with, because nobody really knows the shoes that we're walking in until they're in it. And
That's what I
so,
always tell people.
what has it been like for you to kind of be that voice in the room and
So
be,
I'll be honest, the first time I went, I was extremely nervous because these people seemed like they had done it year after year after year. However, this past year, no, it was this year in February. Would have been my fourth time doing it, and I got to be one of the main speakers in my North Carolina group because they split everybody up into their states and then their regions because of who the legislators are and stuff. And then I even got to go meet people, senators, and I think it was Virginia and Michigan and Delaware because they were low on attendees in those states. And they were just as open to listening about the people I serve and then my own chronic illness story and how they can better help people, the citizens that live in their state and their region.
it's so cool how even though we go through what we go through, it brings such community and
Hmm.
it brings people from all over that have a story. And by you going and being an advocate for this and a voice, like you said, people from all over in a room together and they're just
Hmm.
sitting and listening. And that's
Hmm.
really sometimes, even if you can't fix the problem,
Right.
just knowing that they're listening to what you're saying.
Now, I'll be honest, we've had some people be receptive and some people not be receptive, but I think that's like that in life, you know.
Mhm.
But either I've always said it's not a Democrat versus Republican issue. This is a people issue.
Mhm.
And so it affects everybody, every walk of life. And so we try and stay nonpartisan when we're trying to speak to these people
Mhm.
because there's people on both sides that'll listen to us. You just got to give them a chance.
Mhm. And that's
And it's
so
all
true.
about what you say and how you word it, and you got to learn all that too.
Well, and you say about us, it's not really a political issue. I
Right.
agree with that.
Hmm.
I think that so many people get so consumed and caught up. Well, this party says this, and this party
Right.
says this, and we have to do this, and we have to do.
Hmm.
They're wrong, and we're right, and you're either too far left or too far right. And when
Right.
you're dealing with stuff like this, it's not
Right.
like every what you've got people that are chronically ill on the left and chronically
Mm.
ill on the right and
Right.
chronically ill in between.
Right.
And so when you're speaking up, you're not saying, hey, listen to my political party. You're saying, hey, listen to me.
Right.
I've lived it. I
Hmm.
know. And I've
Hmm.
always said that, if anybody in government, no matter what political party they were affiliated with, if they lived through it or they had
Hmm.
a very, very, very close loved one that they saw suffer through it, their
Hmm.
perspective would change greatly.
And we have ran across a couple of senators that have had lived experiences, and so they're willing to sign on the rare disease caucus that they're really trying to push. But as of right now, North Carolina does not have a senator on the rare disease caucus. We're really
And
trying to push for that, but South Carolina does.
And explain a little bit about, because obviously people that may not be in the know about what that is, what exactly is that you're talking about them signing off on?
So, Rare Disease Caucus is mainly just support that you are in support of uh, funding rare diseases and treatments and things that we need. It's not necessarily a like a bill or a thing that we're trying to get passed. It's just a community of people, champions that are supporting us.
I really think that what you're doing speaks volumes because people that have the courage to even go, like you said, you might have been nervous the first time, but
Yes.
you know, you really find your purpose in that as you go
Mm-hmm.
through it.
You do, yeah.
And if you would have known me as a shy kid, you would have said that girl will never have a podcast. She'll never
Yep.
write songs. She'll never
That's
be an
me.
author. She'll never. But it's like when you found your voice and found the power in it,
Mm-hmm.
you really, God just takes off with it and shows you a
Right.
whole different light.
Mm-hmm.
And, living with what you live with obviously is not fun.
No.
It's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But through it, you're finding purpose. And it may not just be like, oh, I'm living for other people. No, you're living for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But through it, through the pain and everything, you're being able to help other people. And I just think that's remarkable because unfortunately, not everybody has our attitude and they
Right.
stay in the bed and they
Mm-hmm.
kind of succumb to all their circumstances and
Mm-hmm.
say, well, oh, why, life's not worth living.
Right.
No, like I said, y'all, this girl gets up and she lives and she's all over the country and she's using her voice. And so, what all do you have coming up?
Well, I'm going to the Roll-Ups next week in Disneyland, so I'm super excited. I'm going adaptive surfing this week on Friday. And I'm also gonna get in a helicopter for the first time at Myrtle Beach, so I'm excited about that. And then I created this 30 under 30 list, and I've done about half of it already, and the helicopter ride was on there. So I'm going to make sure that happens when I'm at Myrtle Beach. But then I'm going, let's see, after that, going on a fishing trip and a couple hunting trips locally in our state. And then I'm going to Wyoming to go on a women's antelope hunt. So this will be my first non-disabled hunt. There's a group hunt, and it's just for women. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm going to New Jersey to a conference for people that have different health issues. And Johnson and Johnson pays for everything. So they send you there and then they'll pay for all your meals and all that.
So
And
you're racking up the sky miles over there, girl.
my theme got chosen this year, so that's how I get to go. So I'm so excited I can't release the name yet. But I'm excited about the theme, and it does have something to do with rare diseases. And so, yeah, I'm just excited about going because that's my fourth time trying to get into the event. And so, hopefully, it's a fun experience. They also have a talent show there. I'm going to do the same song. So,
I think it's so amazing that people with disabilities can have these experiences because I know some people may think, well, she has this and she has
right,
that. She can't ever do that stuff. And it's kind of
right.
like you hadn't had the honor to meet Champ yet, but Champ has cerebral palsy, and so
Mm,
he's never known what it's really like to walk normally and
right.
stuff like that. But I mean, that man's on the go probably more than anybody I know. I mean, he does stuff that people would have never thought he could do, and
Hmm.
it's the discipline, it's the determination, it's the faith. But how amazing that God provides to be able to let you have these experiences because
Right,
I think it would be so much harder if you couldn't.
right,
But being able to have kind of almost like, okay, well, yeah, I may not feel 100% today, but I still get to go and do this.
right.
It kind of mentally and emotionally says, okay, well, it's not the worst it can be, you know.
Right.
And so, talk about what that is like too, like mentally and emotionally, kind of day from day. Do sometimes you struggle and say, why God, or do you kind of look at it and say, okay, well, he must have had a purpose for all of this, and now look at all the things that kind of have happened in my life. Cause, and it's okay, there's no right or wrong answer. We like to ask people this because it gives perspective, right? Because the
Mhm.
reality is there's nothing wrong with if you had doubts and stuff. We talk about people with mental health that
Mhm.
it's totally okay. And somebody listening to this may say, well, they're just like a cotton candy dream over there. They don't have any negativity. And the truth is, we have hard days.
Right. That's a hard question. Um,
Or what would, if you don't want to answer it, you can also like, what would you say to someone else that you say you may meet someone through your foundation?
mhm.
What advice would you give them?
Just because you have a chronic illness or disability doesn't define you. You're more than your disability. We have a saying at Smiling While Sending Hope that we introduced earlier this year that was we see the ability in disabilities. Because oftentimes there's so many stigmatisms where people don't believe that you can do that, like you were saying. I've had it in the job industry, I've had it in my dating life, and I've had it with friends. So, especially people that don't have a chronic illness, they're typically the worst because they really don't understand, like you were saying.
Mhm.
And so, a scenario would be like they went to a concert and they invited me to this concert. Well, I'm in a wheelchair and none of them are. So in order for me to go to this event, I'd either have to sit by myself or not go. And so if you're invited with a group, you'd want to sit with the group. And so I chose not to go.
Mhm. And
So,
some people may see stuff like that as, like there's been many times that I've had to cancel on people
oh,
or
that
just
too,
say
yeah.
not go, and
Right.
it may seem like an inconvenience. And I always
Hmm.
said that if my illness is an inconvenience for you, then you're not a true friend.
Right. Yeah.
And something as simple as saying no to the concert wasn't that you
Mm.
didn't want to go,
Right.
but you didn't want to place yourself in that position where you had to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
But because they're not in your position, they may not have been thinking,
Exactly.
they might have been innocent in it, but they just may not have been thinking about, well, how is this going to make her feel if she's having to sit by
Hmm.
herself?
But sometimes it's hard to know what people's motives are too. You just don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and it can be a difficult thing to navigate.
Hmm.
And that's why I think, it's not that we don't have healthy friends. It's just
Right.
that the like you said, the chronic illness community or disabilities, they understand on a level that without a word being said, they wouldn't have to ask you about, are you still going to go?
Right.
There would have been arrangements made that somebody would have sat with you.
Hmm.
And that's just the type of, and we're not like hating on people, like don't misunderstand it, people. We're not hating on people that don't have these problems.
Right.
What we're asking and saying is sometimes just the consideration can go a long way, even if, like, for instance, in Katie's position where she couldn't go to the concert for that reason or didn't want to for that reason, the consideration would have gone a long way instead of
Hmm.
thinking, well, they just didn't think about me having to sit by myself, or and it's not that we're necessarily like, oh, look at me, pity party. No, that's not what it is at all. You're just saying, it's like me with germs. I have to be very, very cautious with that. Well, if someone's been sick or someone's got 50 kids coming to a party, there's been several times that I couldn't even go to some of my nieces and nephews' parties growing up because I had to think about how many kids were going to be there. They
Mm-hmm.
knew I still loved them, but they
Mm-hmm.
understood Aunt Heather's position. And
Right.
so I think it just is so helpful when people can be understanding and know that you're not trying to, ditch them. You're not trying to be an inconvenience. You're not trying to sound like you don't want to hang out with somebody. It's just you have things in your position that you have to consider that others would not.
Right.
So, what has probably been the most fun thing that you've gotten to do probably in the last, I'd say, what, 2, 3 years?
Hmm. Um, I would say going out west to go hunting last year, which I get to do again this year with a different group. And then I always wanted to go to the Rolex experience, so this will be my third time going, so that's been in the past 3 years.
So, for the dance, I want to ask you more about this. Uh, like, do you do it single or do you have a partner? How does that work? And like, where do the partners? Is it another person with a chronic illness, or like, do you get paired up with a professional? How is this? Because I've never heard of this dance, and I need a clip of you dancing out there.
So I signed up. I'm doing a spoken word, and that's in their like open competition, and then their adult open competition, and then in their adult dance category, I'm doing the dance. And so some people have a individual section, uh, like duo, and like a group. I think there's like three different ones. I'm doing the individual one, and I'll be honest, I just made up the dance,
Well, sometimes that can be the best thing,
right?
is
I'm
just
not, I don't have
unexpected.
time to go to all these dance lessons and all that.
Well,
That's a whole nother level.
just watch a couple TikTok videos and just
Right.
put a couple moves to,
Yeah.
from each video together with something, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Who needs dance lessons?
Right. And they're expensive. Dance
Yes,
lessons. Ooh.
and they're time consuming.
They are, yeah. I think I give out of breath.
Well, I definitely am excited to see. I'm sure y'all have some videos of that, and
Yeah, I think they take video of us. I think that's part of our entry fee.
so have you said you've been to California before?
This,
Um,
yeah, this will be my fourth time to California, my third time to the conference, and my first
okay.
time competing.
Okay, so where in California have you been? Because I've been to LA, but I haven't been anywhere else.
So, Burbank is where the conference is. Last year it was the last 2 years it's been at LAX, which is right next to the airport. I've been to Anaheim, to Laurie, because the first time I went was because I was a national agriculture pageant queen, and so I got to go to the World Ag Expo, and that was amazing. And we went and saw the sequoias, the redwoods. We saw the Pacific Highway. I can't remember where else. Hollywood.
Yeah, it seems like another country over there. I remember when I went there, I
Oh,
was
it
like,
is.
and I didn't even see half of what was out there, but I was like,
Mhm.
this place just seems enormous.
I mean, if it wasn't for the conference being in LA, I probably wouldn't be in LA,
Hmm.
especially not every year. Because LA is not my favorite. The crime there is awful. The traffic is awful. It's
Hmm.
definitely not like North Carolina, that's for sure. Even Charlotte and Raleigh on their bad days, you know.
Yeah, it's like, even some of the celebrities these days say that
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to be there anymore, and so
Mm-hmm.
they either move somewhere else in the state or they move completely out of the state.
Yes. And their food and everything is so much higher.
Hmm.
Their gas, I think it's up to like $6 or $7 right now.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I'm hoping that I can eventually get to where I would like to try to travel to some of the places I went to as a kid, just to
Oh,
see
that's cool.
my perspective as a
Adult.
adult, and
Mm-hmm.
because I went to L.A. and I went to New York as a child, and
Okay.
I would love to go to those places again, to
Mm-hmm.
see it as an adult. But there, I've
New York City's on my 30 under 30 list.
well, girl, you gonna hit all these numbers before you.
I
You
have
gonna
three and a
you,
half more years to do it.
and you're gonna have it knocked out in 6 months.
I hope.
Yeah, that it's cool to make lists like that because I remember when I was waiting for my kidney, that's what I did to pass time. Sometimes I would not sit on the negative. I would sit and think, but what am I going to do once I get it? So I would make lists, and some people may look at it, oh, why are you making all these lists?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start realizing that you're checking off stuff that you sat and dreamt about,
Mm-hmm.
that is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like when you look back you're not just going to look back at the list, you're going to look back at the memories and say,
Right.
I actually did it,
Right.
and
And
so
then you're going to show other people that have disabilities that they can do it too.
exactly. And that's, I think both of us have such a strong message about that of just showing others that you can still live with our circumstances and not be bitter and just live with joy, gratitude, and just live the heck out of the cards that you've been dealt.
Mm-hmm.
And we I have this saying that you don't have to live 80 years in order to feel fulfilled. And that's because you can do anything you want to do, but you don't have to live 80 years in order to have a good life.
Right.
And I think with us going through what we do, we recognize that and understand the depths of that and the
Mm-hmm.
magnitude of that more than most would.
Right.
And I admire how you stay on the go, but I admire how you started your foundation and you spread that message with everything you're doing with your advocacy and just continuing to get up out of bed each day. And I personally know like not every day is a good day,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to find it in you. And you said it was a hard question earlier, but honestly, the answer you gave with your advice was exactly what I think your answer in your head was. Is that's you find the motivation to get up each day and
Mm-hmm.
say today's worth living. I still am going to try to make the best of it, and I'm going to show people through my foundation, through my own personal journey, that I'm still going, I'm not giving up, and
Mm-hmm.
there's always hope. I
Right.
mean, even like your foundation, you know, smiling while giving hope. I always mess that up, and I'm sorry.
Smiling while sending hope.
Sending hope. There we go. Well, it's just about hope and smiles.
Right.
But but yeah, I mean, I think, and we've talked about this even when you were starting the foundation and everything,
Mm-hmm.
that you could have sat in bed and just said, well, you know, what's the point in doing all that? But you
Mm-hmm.
didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You said there is a point. And if
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be given this story, why not use it for good?
Right.
And so I think that's really amazing. And that I mean, heck, to say you've been to DC and you've spoken rooms and you weren't afraid. You said, no, this is an opportunity. And
Right.
so I think that is just so awesome. And I'm so glad you were willing to do this interview to
Yeah.
just tell people about yourself. In the last couple of minutes, is there anything else that you would like to add or anything that you would like to share with people that may be listening? And please let people know where they can find you, all your social media, and all that kind of stuff.
We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. at Smiling While Sending Hope. And then I have a personal medical page. It's called Katie's Medical Adventure or Journey.
So if anybody is interested in just following along Katie's journey and also the foundation or just kind of seeing what they're up to and that sort of thing, please check them out and just see all the good that she's putting out into the world. And we're always cheering you on. Last question, because Champ likes to ask this question, but I get the honor of asking this one today. Since you are a person of faith, what would it mean to you when I ask this? What does it mean to be a champion of Christ to you?
Being able to spread the gospel through care packages and other initiatives that we are able to be a part of and bring people closer to Christ and community.
Awesome. That was a great answer. And so, Katie, thank you so much for taking the time with me today to just tell people about you and your foundation. And, follow her page because she said she was going to have clips of this dancing. And so we need to go on there and give it a heart, okay?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Katie.
We're so thankful for Katie's diligence and her work. As I watch today's episode, I'm reminded of how important it is to be a voice for the voiceless. Even that's what Scripture tells us to be, right? And so Katie does that through her work, through her advocacy work, and the way that she fights not only for herself, but for others. No greater love has anyone than to lay down their life. And I believe that Katie has and is laying down her life in a servant-hearted way. And so we're thankful for her. We're thankful for her story, for the way it inspires and impacts people. And that's what we want the champions to be all about, inspiring and impacting people with determination, with grit, and with the desire to live and to live life to the fullest. So we hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to seeing you back next week for the next installment of the Champions Podcast. God bless and take care.